Welcome to this explainer. Go ahead and put on your ethics professor hat for a few minutes with me, because today we are running a live case study on what is, quite frankly, humanity's greatest technological gamble. We're going to look closely at the massive trade-offs between rapid, unbridled technological innovation and the fundamental protection of humanity itself. Our subject? OpenAI, a company that has incredibly fast become one of the most influential forces on Earth. But as you'll see, the real story behind the scenes is this volatile, chaotic mix of profound idealism, jaw-dropping financial incentives, and an existential race for absolute dominance.
Here's our syllabus for the day. We're going to trace the ethical compromises of the world's most powerful AI company, covering their paradoxical origins, the staggering price of innovation, the chaotic internal mutiny, and finally, the existential crossroads we all find ourselves standing at right now.
Let's start with Part 1, the paradox of OpenAI.
There is a massive, glaring tension here between a nonprofit mission to literally save humanity and the ruthless, everyday reality of corporate ambition. You see, to truly understand OpenAI, we have to recognize that this wasn't just your typical tech startup. It was born out of a genuine, deep-seated fear that artificial intelligence posed a literal existential threat to human life. It was meant to be our shield. Yet in just a few short years, it morphed into this corporate juggernaut, chasing world record-breaking $300 billion valuations. So how on earth does a company abandon its founding principles that completely? Well, to answer that, we have to look at the architect behind it all.
Think about CEO Sam Altman's unparalleled ability to acquire and consolidate power. Before OpenAI, Sam was a Stanford dropout working on a location-sharing app. The guy famously worked so hard, living off nothing but instant noodles, that he actually gave himself scurvy, no joke. But his real superpower wasn't coding, it was navigating the incredibly complex web of human power. By age 30, he was president of Y Combinator, Silicon Valley's most prestigious startup accelerator. His mentor, Paul Graham, perfectly captured his relentless, highly strategic nature, essentially saying Sam is the kind of guy who thrives and takes control in any environment. And this is the man who would eventually steer the ship of superintelligence.
Moving on to Chapter 2, the noble origin story. Let's look back at the seemingly pure intentions of this project in 2015. To really get into the founder's mindset, we have to define AI, artificial general intelligence. Insiders don't just view this as software. They view it as the very last invention humanity will ever need to make. Think about it. If you can build a machine that's smarter than human beings, and that machine can teach itself to build even better machines, well, humanity's run as the apex creator is officially over. Inside OpenAI's early offices, which was literally just a small group sitting on a couch in a bed in an apartment, they talked about building AI like they were building a god. It was a technology that could cure all disease. Actually, scratch that. It wasn't just about curing disease. It was about ending poverty entirely. But on the flip side, it could also automate weapons and amplify cyber attacks to catastrophic, world-ending levels.
The stakes were quite literally existential. The founders genuinely believed they were tinkering with something that could terminate the human race. They use this incredibly chilling analogy. When we build a highway, we don't actively hate the animals whose habitat we're paving over, right? They're just in the way. The terrifying thought was that a super-intelligent AI might view us the exact same way. It might just coldly decide the Earth is safer or more efficient without humans in the picture.
Now let's set the stage and compare the landscape back in 2015. OpenAI was explicitly designed by Elon Musk and others to be the moral counterweight to Google's unchecked monopoly. At the time, Google had quietly snatched up roughly 3/4 of the top AI talent on the planet. Elon Musk actually confronted Google's then CEO, Larry Page, about the dangers of superintelligence wiping us out, but Page just completely dismissed him as being paranoid. Terrified that a single, profit-driven monopoly controlled this potentially world-ending tech, Musk partnered with Sam Altman, Greg Brockman, and AI genius Ilya Sutskever to form OpenAI. Their mandate was simple: be a fully open-source nonprofit organization that built AI safely and share it freely for the benefit of all mankind.
But, as we see in Chapter 3, The Price of Innovation, noble intentions almost always collide with the harsh financial realities of tech advancement.
The absolute turning point arrived in 2017 with a new architecture invented by Google. This finally made rapid progress possible by scraping the entirety of digitized human knowledge. Before this, AI was really rigid. You had to give it perfectly labeled data, like painstakingly telling a computer, this is a hot dog and this is not a hot dog. But then, a small team at Google published a paper introducing the transformer. This was a black box that could just absorb messy, random data from across the whole internet and find the patterns all by itself. Ironically enough, Google was too slow and cautious to release their own chatbot because they feared reputational damage. But OpenAI, they saw the potential immediately. By the way, this is exactly where the T in ChatGPT comes from, generative pre-trained transformer.
But here's the catch. To afford the immense computing power required to train these massive new transformer models, OpenAI had to make a really tough choice. They essentially abandoned their nonprofit purity, took Microsoft's billions, and fundamentally altered their corporate soul. In 2018, Elon Musk tried to take over OpenAI, failed, and resigned, taking his massive billion-dollar pledge right out the door with him. Staring down an existential funding crisis, OpenAI made the incredibly controversial decision to switch from a non-profit to a capped profit business. They partnered up with Microsoft to get access to vast amounts of raw computing power, and almost overnight, the company created to be open and free became secretive, highly commercialized, and completely closed off.
Just wrap your head around the sheer scale of the financial incentive they introduced here, a 100 times capped return for investors. That is a stark, absolute departure from being an open-source charity. While Sam Altman argued this was just the necessary, ugly reality of raising capital to build AGI, a lot of early employees felt it was a complete betrayal of the mission. The financial incentives had fundamentally shifted the organization's moral compass.
Which brings us to part 4, opening Pandora's box, the pivotal moment the experiment finally escaped the laboratory.
The results completely defied all expectations. They were maybe expecting 100,000 users, but the launch of ChatGPT in November 2022 unleashed a cultural phenomenon. It captured 100 million users in just 2 months. To put that into perspective, it took Facebook 4.5 years to hit that same milestone. It was initially meant to be this low-key research preview, launched with a single simple tweet from Sam Altman. But the public's reaction was just unprecedented. The conversational power of the bot felt like absolute magic. And with that, the AI arms race officially went into overdrive as every single tech giant scrambled to catch up.
But while the whole world marveled at this new toy, an ethical war was brewing internally. The safety team was panicking over AI hallucinations, criminal misuse, and the blatant prioritization of viral growth over necessary safety guards. Get this, some safety team members didn't even know ChatGPT was going to be released. They were terrified hackers could use it to find code vulnerabilities or commit crimes at scale. Meanwhile, star developers grew so incredibly disillusioned with OpenAI's new profit-first direction that they straight up quit and founded a rival company, Anthropic, entirely focused on AI safety.
This intense ethical tension ultimately triggered Chapter 5, the mutiny and the money. Honestly, the most spectacular corporate crisis in modern tech history. What followed was the sheer chaos of a 5-day power struggle. You had a board trying to enforce accountability over safety concerns only to get absolutely crushed by market forces. On a Friday in November 2023, the board ambushed Sam Altman on a video call and just fired him, stating he wasn't consistently candid with them. The rumors went wild. Had Sam lied about safety approvals? Was he distracted by his other wild side projects, like a crypto eyeball scanning network? Or, most terrifyingly, had chief scientist Ilya Sutskever seen something internally about the AI's capabilities that panicked him? Whatever the reason, the board tried to do its job and hit the brakes, but they severely miscalculated.
Putting our ethics professor hats back on, we have to ask, why did the chief safety advocate reverse his stance right in the face of an employee mutiny? Was this pure loyalty, or was it because a massive employee share sale was right on the horizon and firing Sam would have destroyed the company's valuation, taking all their impending wealth with it? Over the weekend, nearly all 800 employees signed a petition threatening to quit unless Sam was brought back. Under that immense pressure, Ilya flipped. By Tuesday, the enemies on the board were completely gone, and Sam returned with more unchecked power than ever before.
Finally, Chapter 6, our existential crossroad. Let's look at where this leaves us today in a world forever altered.
Just consider the staggering scale of the war chest they've amassed for 2025. By 2025, OpenAI closed the largest private tech funding round in history. The little company that started in an apartment with a solemn promise to protect us is now a heavily commercialized titan. They are moving at breakneck speed, releasing voice modes that sound eerily identical to human beings and completely blurring the lines of our shared reality. But here's the thing, they aren't acting in a vacuum anymore. The sudden emergence of competitors like China's DeepSeek has turned this safety experiment into a highly volatile global arms race. In January 2025, the American tech sector was entirely shaken when this Chinese AI competitor arrived, wiping hundreds of billions off US market caps in a flash. OpenAI even accused DeepSeek of stealing intellectual property, which, is pretty ironic given OpenAI trained its own models by scraping the entire internet without asking anyone for permission first. The AI race is now a full-blown geopolitical battleground.
We are currently living out a dark prophecy from 2015, that whoever wins the AI race will become the ruler of the world. What began as a philosophical late-night debate about AI safety in Silicon Valley has become a raw, high-stakes contest for global supremacy. And history tells us that when national security and massive economic dominance are on the line, ethical guardrails are usually the very first things to be dismantled. So we have to end this explainer with an ultimate ethical question. In our unyielding rush to build superintelligence, have we permanently traded the fundamental protection of humanity for the promise of technological miracles? The reality is, AI is going to disrupt every single industry on Earth. It will create incredible abundance, sure, but it will also challenge our trust in absolutely everything we see, hear, and read online. OpenAI set out to safely build a digital god in a non-profit laboratory, but the allure of money, power, and competition fundamentally altered their trajectory. As you step away from this case study today, ask yourself, are we merely building advanced software, or are we rushing headfirst into a new reality where humanity is no longer the smartest entity in the room? Thank you so much for watching, and stay curious.